And what is going on, everybody? Hope everybody is enjoying their Sunday so far. And we are back with another season of SEC Talk, season number 9. How can you
What?
believe next year
Really?
we're going to be turning 10, baby? A decade almost of SEC Talk. We appreciate everybody for tuning in to tonight's show. This is going to be the first of many shows throughout the season, as we always do here. This is our annual preview show. So we're only a couple of weeks away from kickoff. Week 0 is just 2 weekends away. And then week number 1 will kick off in 3 weekends. So a lot to be excited for. We have plenty of content coming right to you both on our Facebook and YouTube channels. So Wade, how you doing tonight?
Doing great. Yeah. Year number 9 for the show. I think year number 7 for me. Time flies when you're having fun talking football with your friends. So I got to say, Tyler, though, I can still name every coach. I can still name every quarterback. But looking at some of these depth charts in the season preview, there's some new names. And I don't know if it's just because we've been out of school a little bit, but I have to actually study up a little bit. So that I can make some educated picks here on the show. I think just a lot of new people and players to cover in the SEC, so it'll be exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's go ahead and get right to it here. We're going to go ahead and flip over. I had to do a couple of things since we're kind of doing like a multi-stream, as you could say, here on StreamYard. We did go to the freer version of this, but we will go ahead and pull things up here. So give me 1 second, and we will get right into our previews here with SEC Talk previews. So let me go ahead and pull this up really quick, and we will get right into it. First up, as we always do here, we don't have the AP poll yet, but we do have the coaches poll. So we'll go quickly through this and then give some of our takeaways heading into this season. So number 1 is Texas. Number 4 is Georgia. Number 8 is Alabama. And number 9 is LSU. So 4 teams from the Southeastern Conference are ranked all in the top 10. So those are the 4 horses leading the SEC by the coaches so far. And then number 13 is South Carolina. South Carolina, after having a roller coaster of a season, finishing the season with 9 wins, ended up losing to Illinois in their bowl game. Number 15 is Ole Miss. So Ole Miss is returning one of their key starters, and Austin Simmons. He takes over in Jackson Dart's role. Did lose a lot on defense, but Ole Miss still a top 15 team. Number 17 is Florida. There is some injury concerns heading into the season with the Gators of DJ Lagway, but it looks like this is a do-or-die season for Billy Napier at number 17. Number 18 is Tennessee. Definitely a lot of question marks down there in Rocky Top. And then number 21, Texas A&M. You know dang well Texas A&M, it doesn't matter if they're coming off of a 3-9 season. They are still going to be in the preseason top 25. So from this, Wade, what team is too high and what team is too low?
I got to say a team at the bottom there, Texas A&M. We'll talk about them more in depth here in a little bit, but I kind of feel like they're appropriately ranked for the first time in a while. I like them down there at 21. I think they have as much talent as some of the other teams in the teens. So that's a team that maybe is ranked a little bit too low, but again, I'm okay with it because previously they've been ranked too high. I think Florida's also ranked a little low. I think that if DJ Lagway is what he's hyped up to be, that's a top 10 football team, depending on how they open the season. They got 2 really tough games right off the bat, so that'll tell a lot about the team. And then I'll say a team that I think is too high. I think Alabama's getting a lot of name brand credit. I don't think this is a bad football team. I think it is a top 15 football team, but I don't know what you could say right now about Alabama that's better than, say, Florida. I mean, would you rather have Ty Simpson or DJ Lagway on a top 10 football team? And I think the answer is Lagway.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I think the team that I'm kind of on the fence of, being in that elite category is South Carolina. They did lose a lot of key guys on defense. They do have Nick Harbor. Nick Harbor has to step up in a big way. He has to really be that true wide receiver number 1. They did lose one of the best running backs that they had in a while, Raheem Sanders. I think Lenoir Sellers, we know that he has all the talent in the world, but compare that with that schedule. I just don't see South Carolina being in that elite category. I think a team that is just right is Ole Miss for me. I think a lot of people are downing this team. I think that they return a lot of starters both on offense and defense. And the way that Austin Simmons looked, I know it was only one game and one drive, but he looked really sharp in that drive against Georgia whenever Jackson Dart went out with an injury. But I think a lot of people are doubting Ole Miss just because they lost so much talent to the NFL. So those are two teams that I'm looking ahead to this season. So that's the top 25 coaches poll. Once we will have the AP poll moving forward, we will go to that. And then whenever we have the college football playoff poll, we will do that as well. So as we always do, we like to get the fans involved. So if you have any questions pertaining to your team or just the conference in general, feel free to leave us a comment, and we will get to that at the end of the show, as we always do there. So we do have one more preseason poll to look at, and that was back in July when SEC Media Days kicked off over the 3-day period in Atlanta, Georgia. So just going through this pretty quickly, we're going to start at the bottom, actually, is Vanderbilt. I guess the media members did not see what the Vanderbilt Commodores did. Maybe they thought it was just a fluke of the upset of Alabama. But just having number 15 Mississippi State ahead of them is bonkers to me. We'll just go through it. I'll just number 14 Arkansas. That's a team that is, I think it's right with Sam Pittman's squad there. I think that Taylor Green's and that offense is going to be better than people expect. Defense-wise, that's going to be but how the hell is South Carolina in the preseason media poll number 13 when they're number 13 in the country? Please tell me, Wade, what is the media doing right here?
Yeah, honestly, I thought this list was from like 5 years ago because Vanderbilt showed a lot of promise last year. South Carolina showed a lot of promise. Florida, same thing. They're a top 20 team in the country. I know that neither one of us is very high on Kentucky, and they're ahead of all those teams. So.
Yeah, that's bizarre. Ahead of Florida? Come on.
Look, I understand the SEC is very deep, and probably if you're in the top 10 in the SEC, there's a good chance you're in the top 20 in the country. So it wouldn't be unusual to put South Carolina or Florida maybe at number 10 if you liked Tennessee or Oklahoma better than them, maybe Auburn. But I just don't understand the love Kentucky's getting and then the hate that Vanderbilt's getting and even Arkansas. I mean, I think they're maybe a spot or too low as well.
Yeah, so we'll continue to go through this list. Like you mentioned, Florida is at number 12. I think that they should be like in the 6 through 8 category. But we'll go through Kentucky at number 11 is just abysmal. Kentucky is going to be one of the worst teams in the SEC. Number 10 is Auburn. Number 9, Texas A&M. And number 8 is Oklahoma. I think that this is like really the category where I could see all three of these teams being I think that those could really soar up, into the top 5 or even bottom of it. Just really depends. I think those are the wild card teams at 10, 9, and 8. And then the top 7 consists of Tennessee at 7, Missouri at 6, LSU at 5, Ole Miss at 4, Alabama at 3, Texas 2, number 1 Georgia. So I just really wanted to just bring this up. I don't think the top is the problem. I think 10 through 16, I don't know what the media was thinking. I don't know. So, but we will get to it once we get to our categories. But we're going to step outside of the SEC for just a brief moment as we actually have some games coming up in just 2 weeks, and that is week 0 games and pick them. So we will go ahead and pick all of the week 0 games. We have a couple of games with one of them being the headliner that we're going to start with, and this is the game in Ireland. Number 21 Iowa State versus number 20 Kansas State. This is definitely going to be an intriguing matchup. And the games in Ireland have just been absolute bonkers the past couple of seasons, especially last season with Florida State being ranked in the preseason top 10, getting upset by Georgia Tech. At the time, we thought Florida State was a really good team. It ended up not being that great of a win for Georgia Tech, but Georgia Tech ended up going on to have a really good season. But this one, whoever wins this one is really going to set up in the Big 12 Conference. So who you got between the Cyclones and the Wildcats over there overseas?
Yeah, I mean, this couldn't be more evenly matched, in my opinion. Ranked number 20 and 21, 2 Midwestern teams, 2 really consistent programs over the last 10 years or so. I get the whole Dublin thing. I think it's cool. I don't understand why we're taking 2 Midwest teams and putting them over there. I think this one would have been really cool regionally and would have had a lot of good travel, but that's beside the point. I think it is going to be a good on the field product. I like what Kansas State's showing me at quarterback with Avery Johnson, so I'm going to go with Kansas State.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Kansas State as well. I think that this is going to be a more defensive game, though. Like you mentioned, Avery Johnson returning, Iowa State's quarterback returning as well. But Iowa State lost most of their core receivers. So I think that offense of Iowa State's still going to be good, but I think it's going to be a little bit of a drop-off. Though, like I mentioned, Iowa State's and Kansas State's defense, 2 of the best in the Big 12. So I think this is going to be like a 24-20 game. Going to be a tight 4-quarter battle all the way. But I am going to go with Kansas State winning this one and moving to 1-0. On the season. So now let's go to the next one, Idaho State at UNLV. Former SEC coach taking over UNLV and Dan Mullen. So how do you see Mullen's return to college football coaching going against Idaho State in game number 1?
Yeah, I forgot that he landed that job, and they've really given a lot of people second chances. If you look at that roster, it's a lot of former guys we've talked about here on SEC Talk. You know, they're trying to get their break at a little bit lower level, but they still play on a big stage, you know, in an NFL stadium facilities, all that good stuff. So this program's in good shape. I don't see this being anything more than a tune-up, and I think they're going to have a pretty good season.
Yeah, I think that this UNLV offense should have no problem scoring at will against Idaho State. Going to be a quick pick for me here. UNLV wins this one pretty convincingly at home in Vegas. Moving on to the next one, interesting out-of-conference game for Kansas. Kansas going to be opening up the brand-new season in their brand-new stadium. If you flip back to last season, most of their games were in Arrowhead, so now they get to play in their new stadium. They get Fresno State from the Mountain West. So Kansas, Fresno State, who wins this matchup?
You and I were very high on Kansas last year.
Yes, we were.
In fact, we picked them to win the Big 12 or at least reach the championship. Didn't go well, but like you said, they were playing away from home. I think that coming back to their stadium is critical. Fresno State lost their quarterback. He's at Michigan now trying to beat Bryce Underwood for the starting job. So I think it's going to take them a bit to get going. I think it's a good mid-major team, but give me Kansas in this one.
Yeah, Jalen Daniels returning for his 6th season, I believe now. In Lawrence. So, yeah, I think that we were potentially a year off away from Kansas. I mean, yeah, that was just one of the disappointments of last college football season, especially the returning talent that Jayhawks had on the offensive side. I think this is going to be a close, at least in the first half. Fresno State's always this crappy bunch, but I am going to go with Kansas at home winning this one. So we will continue to fly through this one. We do have a Conference USA matchup. Kicking things off in week number 0, Sam Houston at Western Kentucky. Feels like Western Kentucky always has a really good quarterback coming into their system. So who do you have going 1-0 in conference play in Conference USA?
All right. So Conference USA, you and I have gotten very familiar with that on another side venture. Look, Western Kentucky's trying to go the FCS quarterback transfer route again this year. Probably a guy that even played against Sam Houston when they were FCS. I'm going to go with a little bit of an upset here. I'm going to go with Sam Houston State. Right. They finished the season strong. They even beat Georgia Southern in the R+L Carrier Bowl down here in New Orleans. And they're returning their quarterback, Hunter Watson, whereas Western Kentucky is, like I said, trying to usher in a transfer quarterback for probably the 10th year in a row. And he's moving up a level. It's a week 0 game. I just think it's kind of got the makings of a little bit of a trap game disappointment for Western Kentucky. So I'm going to go with Sam Houston.
Yeah, there's always an upset or two in week 0, so I wouldn't put it past you, but never pick against Western Kentucky at home. This is going to be a high-powered offense for Western Kentucky, both for Sam Houston, so I think this is going to be one of the more higher-powered games. I'm just hoping that Missouri State and Delaware actually do better than what we're doing in our other dynasty that we're doing.
I will pick against them every time I see them on this show.
I don't even know if Missouri State's going to even be featured. We'll just have to see. But our first disagreement comes in the Conference USA. You're picking Sam Houston. I'm going with Western Kentucky. Kentucky. And we do have one more game out on the Hawaiian Islands, Stanford at Hawaii. Stanford coming off an abysmal season, their first season in ACC. Hawaii, I mean, it's a middle-of-the-road team in the Mountain West. But who you got on the Hawaiian Islands? It's always tough to go to Hawaii. Maybe not as tough of a road trip as, like, you remember Vanderbilt had a couple of years back. But Stanford, a little bit closer. So how do you have this one shaping out?
Hell, this might be a closer travel for Stanford than some of their conference games.
Yeah, really.
I mean, that's not even an exaggeration at this point. Yeah, Hawaii, they're a week 0 staple. I think they typically do play a week 0 game. Always something to look forward to. Stanford really didn't have a good year last year in the ACC. Their quarterback hit the portal. I don't know whether it was voluntary or what. I noticed he popped up at Auburn of all places. So I'm going to go with Hawaii here. I think this program's got a little bit of momentum. They're also playing in a new stadium, and they don't have to travel for 6 or 7 hours.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Hawaii, too. I picked Hawaii, I believe, a couple of years back. Didn't work out for me as Vanderbilt just blew the doors off of them, like 59-10. Don't think that happens this time. Stanford, like you mentioned, I think it's going to be one of the worst Power 5 programs, or Power 4 at this point, programs in 2025. So give me the Rainbow Warriors. It will be close, but I think Hawaii gets it done at home. So those are all of your week 0 games. We will keep track of those. Once we have our week 1 show, we will see how we did in the picks to get things rolling here in 2025. But now we will go back into talking about the SEC, as we have it our official now SEC football preseason preview. So if you flashback to last year, we're going to go through this pretty similar as we go through each category. So like team that exceeded expectations, worst team in the SEC, and we'll also make our way too early SEC championship predictions and also give our winner. So let's go ahead and go to the first category that we have. Which SEC team will exceed your expectations? I tried to remember what teams that we did last year. I think that
I was trying to find it too.
Yeah, I think we were pretty high on Tennessee. So maybe Tennessee was in this category. But in 2025, which team do you have exceeding their expectations?
I think we did go with Tennessee or maybe Kentucky. And
I think, yeah, that's right. You went Kentucky here. That was a big old rip in the chat because, well, they did get
for a little bit.
But other than that, Kentucky not so great of a season.
Yeah, Tennessee was the right pick last year, so you nailed that. I'm going to go back to a team that we talked about when we were looking at the poll. I think it's Texas A&M, and I think they exceed expectations because they're finally manageable expectations. I think this team is every bit of a top 20 team if they play to their potential. If you look around, they're one of the only teams that's returning competent starting quarterback and running back, and I think that goes a long way in SEC football. So a guy that's been there, done that, played on the road, gave some of the opposing teams a fit, like Florida and LSU. So I think A&M is my pick this year.
Yeah, that's a pretty good pick. A&M's definitely going to be loaded once again on defense, and they're bringing a lot of back. They also got NC State's leading receiver out of the transfer portal. I think that their running back duo is going to be one of the best in the SEC too, because we picked them a lot in SEC fantasy last season. So my team, I'm going to go back to a team that I was saying that was going to be my most surprised team. I think I was a little bit a season early on this team. This is a team that not make a bowl game, but I think this is going to be the best roster. And this is a do or die year for Auburn and Hugh Freeze. I know that they have not so easy stretch to open up the season. They do have to face off against a Baylor team that if you watch them in the second half of the season look like one of the best teams in the Big 12. So that's going to really be a key season. But I mean, Peyton Thorne, how worse could you get at the quarterback position?
Yeah, nowhere to go but up.
Yeah, Bob. So you bring in Jackson Arnold coming in from Oklahoma, and Cam Coleman, I think, is going to be one of my breakout receivers. I think he's going to really step up. And then looking at the offense and defense, I think that the defensive side of the ball is going to take a huge step up. So give me Auburn. Like I mentioned, Hugh Freeze, I think a lot of people are talking about him being on the hot seat and one of the early coaches to be fired. So I think Auburn, I think that they are a solid 8-4 team. So I think that's enough to exceed their expectation and save another season for Coach Hugh Freeze. So you have A&M and I have Auburn exceeding our expectations. Now we go to the other side of the expectations of which team will fall short of your expectations and the team's expectations as well.
All right. Let's start this one off with a little bit of a shocker. I'm going to go with Texas.
Oh, honestly, that was the team that I went with last year, and it turned out pretty terribly.
Well, I did this last year with Georgia because they were the number 1 team, and I just didn't really believe in them. Here I am picking another number 1 team. Maybe I'm taking this criteria a little literally, but I mean, all we've heard about Texas is they're going to be number 1. They've got the number 1 quarterback. They've got the number 1 running back duo. Defense should be good. And look, that all could be very much true. But I think Texas's schedule last year was set up for them to succeed year 1. They had Georgia at home. They had A&M. Oh, no, I think they had them on the road. They had Florida at home. So I think the script flips a little bit. And I got confidence in Georgia and Florida this year. So I think those are 2 teams that could beat them when Texas goes on the road. I mean, this is Arch Manning's first year starting. There's going to be a little bit of some growing pains. I think he's going to be good. I just don't think this team's going to run away with the conference, and that's why I got him falling short of expectations. I don't think they're going to be a bad team. I think they could still very well be a playoff team, but I don't think they're going to be one of the top 4 playoff seeds.
Yeah, I could definitely see your answer. I mean, Texas's expectations is to win the SEC, make it to the playoff, and ultimately be crowned the national champs. So if you don't have that happening, then you can put Texas on here. I put them last year. It ended up not working out for me, but I'm going to go with a team that I was very high on last season, and that is the Tennessee Volunteers. I'm just not too high on Tennessee. Just the way that the Nico situation worked out. Now he's at UCLA. You bring in a guy that was supposed to be committed to UCLA and Joey Aguilar coming from App State. This ain't the Sun Belt, though.
That's a downgrade.
I just don't think that he's going to fare well. And the offense, I think, is going to take a step down because they relied heavily on both Brew McCoy and Dylan Sampson. I think the defense is still going to be there. One of the best cornerbacks in the country is still there. And then, the defense, I think, is really going to be there for them. But I think the offense is going to take too big of a step back for me. And the schedule-wise, I mean, it's not like one of the toughest schedules in the SEC, but I just don't think that they're going to navigate that pretty well. So them being preseason ranked, I believe it was, number 17. I just don't think that they're going to finish the season quite like how they did last season, making the playoff. I think it's going to be like a 9-3, 8-4 season for the Vols. I think they're still going to be a good football team, but I just don't think they're going to get back to that college football playoff this season. So both rolling with the orange schools of Texas and Tennessee.
The UTs.
Yep. Now we go to who will be at the bottom of the SEC. I actually remember this one. You went with Arkansas, and I went with Vanderbilt. Both swing and misses. We'll try again. Who is going to be your worst team in the SEC in 2025?
All right. So maybe this team wants to hear me say their name this year.
Yes.
And they can make a jump. But I'm going to go with Mississippi State. I don't think this is a very unpopular answer. I don't know what they're doing at quarterback. To me, it sounds like they told Michael Van Buren that he wasn't going to be the guy. And he was like, well, if I'm going to sit the bench, I'll do it and make money at LSU and play at a program that, maybe has a future with me. I don't know why you would want to bring Blake Shapen back for some reunion tour on his 7th year of college at his 2nd or 3rd school. I just don't think he showed enough for me to believe in him as the guy. And I just don't think the roster is that talented. So sorry, I got Mississippi State at the bottom. I think this is like a 3-9 team.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have Mississippi State as the worst team just because this team went 2-10, but they did reload in the transfer portal 60 new players, both in the recruiting class and the transfer portal. We'll see if that works out. End of the day, Blake Shapen's going to be their quarterback, and it's just a matter of do you trust him or not for him to put them being the worst team or being like a 5-7 team somewhere in the middle. But that schedule is absolutely brutal. It's pretty much the same schedule as last season, and also they got to play Arizona State, who's more than likely going to be the favorite to win the Big 12. And that game is at home, I believe. But after
this year.
that, good luck in the SEC because you got to play Texas, you got to play Georgia, you got to play Ole Miss. You escape like LSU and Alabama, but outside of that, it's a pretty tough schedule. You get Florida on the road. Not going to be easy stretch for the Bulldogs to get where they want and to get back to bowl eligibility. But I'm going to go with the other one. That's going to be well. It's not okay. There we go. I'm going to go with Kentucky. Kentucky, you try to stop me from saying you're the worst team. Wade's been on the Kentucky train for who knows how long.
Not this year.
But not this year. You remember a former SEC quarterback that used to be at A&M, and he went to Incarnate Word, and now he's back in the SEC, and that is none other than Zach Calzada. That is all I needed to know. He was terrible at Texas A&M. I mean, I just don't think that he's going to do well, and Kentucky's defense is really going to take a step back. They lost both of their two best defensive players, one of them being Maxwell Harrison, who was drafted in the first round by the Bills. And just talking about schedule, Kentucky, I mean, they were 1-7 last year in the SEC. Their one win came on the road against Ole Miss, which honestly to this day, I don't even know how the hell they did it. But the rest of the season, this was just a pretty bad football team. So with having Louisville at the end of the season and having Georgia, Ole Miss, a lot of these power programs that you have to play in the middle of the season, I just don't think honestly, they're going to go winless in the SEC. I'm calling it now. They're not going to get a single win. They're going to be the Mississippi State of last season. And Mark Stoops, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets canned after this season. So Mississippi State and Kentucky, I think those are the two consistent picks here to be at the bottom of the barrel. And
according to the coaches, they're not.
Yeah, well, the coaches, they had Vanderbilt and Arkansas, somewhere like that. But we have Mississippi State and Kentucky. We will move on to our categories on a little lighter note now, so away from the negativity. Now, who will be the surprise team of the SEC this season?
Not so fast. I am taking this as a negative surprise.
Okay.
We're going to continue to dump on Tennessee because I was going to pick them as well as falling short of expectations, but after looking at my championship picks, I had to put Texas there. Tennessee is another team that I'm not high on. I don't understand why they're getting as much love in the preseason poll. I mean, they have a clear downgrade at quarterback. They looked lost whenever Dylan Sampson wasn't on the field last year, especially against Ohio State in the playoff. And like you said, you lost your two leading receivers. So I just don't see anything positive about this offense. And I don't think the defense was unworldly better than the competition. I think it's a solid unit. They're really going to have to rely on that defense, and they did lose the best player on it in James Pierce. So
yeah,
I think how I would tie this into the surprise element of the question is I think a lot of people are going to be surprised that this team goes 6-6. I mean, I just don't think they're
all right.
I don't think they're 9-3, 10-2. I mean, when we look at the middle of the pack, I don't see what puts this team ahead of teams like Auburn, Oklahoma, South Carolina, Florida. I mean, I think they could very easily be at the bottom of that grouping.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I agree with Tennessee. I had them as my most, disappointing team to fall short of those expectations. I mean, 6-6 is not out of the world of eligibility. I mean, if Joey Aguilar just doesn't improve from year to year, then I can see Tennessee.
They got a tough opener too.
They do. They do. I mean, Syracuse is no slouch. I think they're going to be one of those dark horse teams. Everybody's just talking about and raving about Clemson. I mean, Miami is probably going to be up there, but with Carson Beck being there, who knows? And Miami is going to be just Miami. They're going to choke and probably lose to like Duke in the middle of the season, as they always do. But I'm going to go with Ole Miss. I think a lot of people are just like riding off Lane Kiffin's squad. I was beating Ole Miss's drum in 2024 did not work out for me because that Kentucky loss pretty much just bottomed that team out. But I think, saying that a surprise team, I mean, they're number 15 in the preseason. Do I have them making the playoff? Who knows? But I wouldn't be shocked that this is like a 10-2, 9-3 team. Austin Simmons, I definitely had a lot of praise for him, even though that this is going to be his first time really starting a full season. I think that the defense, as much as they lost, I think the transfer portal really helped them, except for one guy, which we'll talk about once that matchup gets there. But Ole Miss's offense, you look at them. I mean, they lost one of their best receivers that they had in a long time with Trey Harris. But Trey Harris, it feels like every dang week he was getting hurt. But I think that Lane Kiffin, you just got to trust this offensive mindset, and the defense is going to play every single week. So I think Ole Miss, like I mentioned, a lot of people riding them off. Just to go back to their 8-4, 7-5 days, not so fast. Ole Miss is going to have another good season in the SEC. So you're going with Tennessee more on the disappointing side. I'm going with Ole Miss to be kind of trending up and maybe making a sneaky playoff run in 2025. So now we will go to our dark horse team in the SEC. So this kind of goes on the same lines of our surprise team. But maybe this is a team that many people are not talking about, maybe sleeping on, that could, maybe win the SEC or make some noise.
Yeah, and that's more where I went in this direction. A team that's kind of outside of that upper echelon of, LSU, Alabama, Georgia, Texas. I think that those are kind of the consensus top 4 teams. I'm going to go with Missouri because of the schedule. I mean,
hey, that's what we said last season.
I know, but Brady Cook didn't make that next leap.
Nope, neither did
sometimes Burden. It felt like he held that team back. Luther Burden already had his bags packed for the NFL. There just was no effort there. And Cody Schrader was an unbelievable talent for them that they just couldn't replace last year.
Right.
Nate Noel did a good job, but he wasn't Cody Schrader. And like we talked about, the quarterback and the receivers, they didn't elevate their game. Theo Weiss actually probably was their best player. But I think this team reloaded. I think that, they have an unproven quarterback, but on paper, I think he should be able to do some of the things Brady Cook did well. And then they went out and got the number 1 running back in the transfer portal. So I think what that shows you is that they knew that they're going to have to be a team that's built around a running back that can both beat you traditionally up the middle on the ground, but also through the air. That's what Cody Schrader did. So I think they're kind of going back to their roots and combine that with a pretty favorable schedule. I mean, They get Alabama at home. That's their toughest game. I do think they play. Do they play Ole Miss? I think they
don't believe so, but they do have A&M at home.
That's what it is.
Other than playing on the road.
So I think the schedule.
Ahead.
I think the path is there for this team to have like one SEC loss and maybe sneak into Atlanta.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely high on Missouri too this season. You bring in Penn State transfer and Bill Pabula, who's more of a dual threat quarterback. Brady Cook, could use his legs sometime, but he was more of a pocket presence. So I think that I'm not too worried about the offense. I think the defense is really going to be the tone setter for Missouri. Are they just going to hover around 9-3, 8-4, or is the defense going to level up this season? Because they were terrible in some games. Like the A&M game, they could not stop the run whatsoever. Alabama game, they had some troubles too. So I think that Missouri, if they could put it all together on defense, this could really be a scary team, both, with the talent that they have on offense and the schedule that they have. But I'm going to go with a different, just because of the graphic, I'm going to go with a team that didn't really perform well in 2024. That's Oklahoma Sooners. This is a team that's also bringing in John Mateer, who's a really talented quarterback coming from Washington State. Now, performing in the Pac-12 is going to be different from the SEC, but I think he has the arm talent to do it. Jackson Arnold, we saw him, win some games that he probably shouldn't have last season. But I think that the defense is still going to be there. You did lose Danny Stutzman. That was really your quarterback of the defense, but they reloaded both in recruiting and the transfer portal. I think the offense is going to take a step up too, because it was pretty bad last season. You brought in the freshman from some games, and then Jackson Arnold obviously didn't perform. So I think Oklahoma, I wouldn't be surprised if this is like a 9-3, 10-2 team, because the schedule, you do have some hard games, but you do get, LSU at home at the end of the season. You get the Red River rivalry. That's really going to really determine how Oklahoma's season go. And you play Michigan at home in week number 2, actually, which I think sets up really nicely for the Sooners getting that game at home. So I think Oklahoma, there's a lot of hot seat questions about Brent Venables. I think that Venables, defense-wise, really needs to step it up. You got to show why you're getting paid so many millions of dollars. because the defense can't be as bad. It has to really be consistent throughout the whole entire season. So I think Oklahoma finally puts it together in their second season. It's going to be a tough schedule that they're going to have to navigate. I think they have the talent on both sides of the ball to put it together. So Oklahoma, watch out for them. I'm not saying they're going to win the Natty or anything, but just watch out for Oklahoma. I think they're going to be a team that could really rise up into the ranks. So you have Missouri and I have OU. What is this, Big 12 preview if you were back in 2010? But we're moving on to our next category, to now our Coach of the Year and our Player of the Year. So first, Coach of the Year. I would assume, don't want to really give it away, maybe with your SEC champion pick, but who's your Coach of the Year?
Yeah, maybe next time we switch them. Who knows? Yeah, tipping my pick a little bit here, but I'm going generic. I'm going to go with Kirby Smart. But I think the sign of a good coach is to be able to have consistency, and when you have weaknesses in your program is to address them and to have the depth necessary that you've built through recruiting to really just have that next man up mentality. We saw it for years with Nick Saban. We're seeing it now with Kirby Smart. So I think it's really admirable, and I think that there's a good chance the Dogs are on top, and I think that would merit him being Coach of the Year.
Well, two vanilla picks. I have Steve Sarkisian. I had Brent Venables' face on here. I was like, I don't know how people would take that if I put Brent Venables being the Coach of the Year. Because last year, Clark Lee won it in Vanderbilt. So it's not like it's always the guy that's going to want to win the SEC championship every season. So that's why I thought it was going to be Venables. But ultimately, I just went with Steve Sarkisian. I mean, Sarkisian only won the Coach of the Year award one time in the past couple of seasons, in 2023 when Texas won the Big 12 championship. Probably could have won it last season, but Vanderbilt, the way that their season played out, just had to be Clark Lee. Shane Beamer also got it in some categories for going 9-3 in the regular season. But I think that Texas, I'm still very high on them. Obviously, we'll talk about their Week 1 matchup in a couple of weeks against Ohio State. But I think Arch Manning has some doubts, but I think that he's going to put it together and have a really good season. They are going to have to replace a lot of their key starters on the defense, but I think that Texas is going to be right back in the mix both for the SEC title as well as the college football playoff. I just don't think that they take that big of a stretch back and be like a 8-4, 9-3 type of team like that. So give me Steve Sarkisian, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's like maybe like a Hugh Freeze if Auburn does well. Mike Elko of A&M exceeds their expectations. So it's not always the coach that wins the SEC championship. So just think about that when you're making your preseason Coach of the Year picks in the conference. And now we go to our Player of the Year picks. Now this is as wide open of a Player of the Year race as I have seen pretty much in the past couple of years. So who do you have? Are you going quarterback or are you going with some other position here?
Yeah, I think the strength is at quarterback. I mean, you got all the guys the national media is hyping up with Arch Manning. You got DJ Lagway, you got Lenore Sellers, you got Garrett Nussmeier.
Yep.
So not to say that like a guy like Ryan Williams couldn't win it, or maybe Nate Frazier if Georgia goes off, but I do have a feeling it's going to be a quarterback award just because of all those guys having pretty much dual threat capabilities as well. I'm going to go with DJ Lagway because I think that he's got the best dual threat potential. I think he's a little bit more fine-tuned of a passer than Lenore Sellers, and I think he makes more plays with his legs than we see with Nussmeier or Manning. So I think he's kind of the whole package. Like you said, the Player of the Year doesn't necessarily have to be the guy that's on the best team, but I do think he has to be on a competitive team. Look at Jaden Daniels, what he did. Statistically, you couldn't deny him the award, and his team was good enough to back that talk, but they weren't good enough to win the conference. So I think that's kind of where DJ Lagway finds himself.
Yeah, we have a chatter, Chris, chiming in saying that he has Mike Elko Coach of the Year. So, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't put that.
Win 9 games, absolutely.
Yeah, 9-10 wins. I could see that. So, appreciate you dropping the comment. But I'm going to go for quarterback, too. I just think that the Player of the Year, just like every award, has turned into a quarterback award. So, I mean, like you mentioned, I just don't think that this is going to be the quarterback from the winning team of the SEC, and that's going to be Garrett Nussmeier from LSU. I mean, he's coming off of a 4,000 season, and just look at what they brought in on offense. I mean, you got a guy like Caden Durham in the backfield who's one of the best receiving backs in the country. I think the offensive line definitely has some question marks. You're pretty much going to have to wipe away what you had in 2024 with like Emory Jones. Frazier's gone. Will Campbell's gone too. So that's obviously going to be a question mark. But look what the receivers that you just brought in. Barian Brown, Nick Anderson. You have Aaron Anderson. That is speed too. You can't forget about Chris Hilton. If Hilton could put together a really strong season, I think that is by far the best wide receiver group in the country. Honestly, it wouldn't shock me if LSU is the number one passing offense in the country this season. This is an offense that's going to be putting up a ton of points this season. So I think that Garrett Nussmeier not only could be the player of the year discussion, but if you have LSU, in the playoff, I could definitely see him in that Heisman discussion too. So both going with two gunslingers, Florida and LSU. That's going to be an early contest between Lagway and
we'll
Nussmeier
get to see these guys
in week
number
number 3. So that player of the year, a race between them two is really going to be fun this season. So that's our player of the year picks. And now let's go on to our SEC championship picks. We'll see if we can hit it this year. Football feels like it's always hard to get these SEC championship picks right. But Wade, what two teams do you have making it back to the ATL this season?
All right. So a little vanilla on the first pick. I'm going to take Georgia as one team and give me the Tigers. I mean, like you just said, the passing offense should be terrific. And I think the schedule sets up fairly nicely. You control your own destiny with games against Florida, with games against Alabama, A&M. So those are all teams that, if you don't beat them, they'll probably finish ahead of you in the standings. But you do avoid playing Georgia or Texas in the regular season, which I think goes a long way. Those two teams are going to play each other, and that will determine the pecking order as well. So I think LSU sits in a nice spot. Look out for a team like Missouri if they're able to put it all together. The schedule, the path is there for them. Not saying they're a top 2 team in the conference, but scheduling-wise, I think it could work out as well. But I do like Georgia and LSU to make it there.
All right, yeah. I mean, I could definitely see that too. Georgia, if Gunnar Stockton plays well throughout the season, that defense, I don't even have to worry about the defense anymore. It's because Kirby Smart gets like 300 to like 400-pound defensive linemen from the streets to be like, hey, you go play defensive line for me. So I think that the schedule, other than that, really plays nice for them. They have Texas at home. That's going to be one of the biggest games. They have Alabama at home too. So those are the 2 biggest games that they have. But Georgia Tech, we will talk about this. That being in Atlanta and at Mercedes-Benz Stadium is stupid. We'll talk about that another time. But LSU, if they can beat Clemson in week number 1, that's really going to show me if LSU is going to be that elite category or not. So you have Georgia LSU for back-to-back seasons. It's going to be completely the opposite, as I have the Texas Longhorns making it all the way back to the SEC championship this season. I'm all in on Arch Manning. I think that he's going to have a phenomenal season. I just think that people, they already have them number 1. They're pretty much like, okay, Texas is for sure going to be in the SEC championship. I think that the schedule, honestly, is not too terrible. I know they have to go on the road in week number 1 against Ohio State, but that's not a conference game. They could still lose that and take care of business in the SEC. So I will have Texas in the SEC championship, and I'm going to have a little bit of a surprise here. I'm going to go with the Alabama Crimson Tide, making it back to Atlanta. I think that this is really a complete roster on both sides of the ball. You could obviously go to the quarterback position. Ty Simpson hasn't really proven it this yet. But Jalen Milroe, I mean, was he an elite quarterback? Probably not, and he was still able to do well with this Alabama team. But I think looking at the offense, I think the offensive line is definitely going to be one of the best in the SEC. Looking at their D-line, they're back and loaded. And a guy like Ryan Williams, he did not honestly have that great of a freshman campaign. I think sophomore season, look out for Ryan Williams in this one. So I think that Kalen DeBoer in his second season makes it back to Atlanta, as we have Texas versus Alabama setting up an old-fashioned rivalry game in the SEC championship. So you have Georgia, LSU, I have Texas, Alabama. And now we will go on to our SEC championship winner. So you have Georgia versus LSU. You have the Tigers are the dogs winning it in Atlanta.
it's hard to beat the Dogs in Atlanta.
Yeah, really. It's like they're there like every dang season.
Yeah, and look, Texas could live up to expectations. LSU could fail to reach expectations. A dark horse team could make it. So I don't feel right putting LSU on the screen.
Oh.
I'm going to take Georgia. I think that I just think they're the most consistent program in the country at this point, and I have the faith that they can get it done.
Yeah, so I have Texas versus Alabama. I'm actually going to go with the other side, Alabama, to win the SEC championship. I just think that a lot of people are doubting this team. I mean, if they're in the preseason top 10, they better be elite on both sides of the ball. I just think I'm very high on this offense this season. I know that you lose a lot of guys. You still have Jam Miller at the running back position. I think that he's going to be one of the more breakout running backs in the SEC. I just think that it doesn't matter how the offense just had to put up like 30 or 40 a game. I think that this defense is really going to make some noise this season. So give me Alabama to win the SEC championship. So, I mean, we've seen both of these teams win it. I mean, aside from picking like Missouri to win it, like, whoa, that's a surprise pick. But you're going with Georgia. I'm going with Alabama, and we will see how that shapes out, because I'll tell you, last season when I picked Ole Miss to win it all, did not go so well for me. I don't know who didn't you go with Texas? I believe that's who you went
yes,
with?
I did. I went with Texas.
Honestly, that wasn't that bad. At least they made it there. My one of my teams didn't. I had Georgia.
Yeah, last year I was all on Texas.
Yeah, you were.
And I was
now
doubting
like,
Georgia.
You're there. They have Arch Manning.
No, I mean, I do like Texas a lot. I just think that the schedule doesn't shape up well for them. They have to go play at Georgia, and if they don't win that game, I mean,
they couldn't even beat them last season. That was one of their best teams that they had too.
Yeah, I just if they don't win that game, they don't get there, in my opinion. Do I think they could be the third SEC team in the playoff? Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, I just think it'd be a little risky to pick them to win it without the sure thing that they would get there. Alabama, I mean, I definitely see the path. I see the logic. The quarterback position's what's keeping me up there. But if you look at both of these teams, neither one's going to have like an elite quarterback. We didn't even name them in the four that we highlighted during the Player of the Year segment, but they're going to win the ball by running the football and playing defense.
Yeah, their offensive lines are going to be really good.
Yeah,
both Georgia and Bama.
Yeah, it doesn't always have to be the skill position guys. It's going to be one in the trenches, and that's what these two programs have done for years. And Texas is getting there, right, as well, and they got some flashy skill players. So I see the allure, but I think got to go back to the basics here with these two.
Yep, absolutely. So that is our preview picks. Let me know who you have in your SEC championship and ultimately winning the SEC championship this year. We'd like to know what two teams you have battling down there in the ATL. Now let's go on. Before we end the show here, we do have some hot topics to go through here, starting with the first one with the Texas Longhorns. I think that there's been a lot of buzz of should Arch Manning after this season declare for the NFL draft. Maybe if the Saints are too terrible and they're like 2-15 they have the number one pick, then there's no way that he stays. But should Arch Manning stay at Texas beyond this season?
I think the potential to be the number one pick in the NFL draft is like oftentimes a once in a lifetime opportunity for these guys. And look, throw the money aside. I know the Manning family's got money, and Arch Manning is not going to struggle in life, even if he never played football again. But I think there's a lot of pride there to say, hey, look, I know I can be the number one pick. So I think it's going to be very hard to not come out if Texas has the season that a lot of people are predicting. Right. But I'll take his family's word for it. They said he's probably going to be there 2 years, so I think he will hang back. I don't know if the Saints are in the cards or the Colts. We've heard both of those with the family ties. I don't think they're going to necessarily have their pick of the litter. If he's the top guy, he'll be the top guy. Even if he's not the top guy, I think somebody will reach for him because of the potential. So, yeah, mark me down for having him come out in the 2027 draft.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the 2026 draft class at the quarterback position is going to be loaded. Cade Klubnik of Clemson is going to be really good. I think if Carson Beck can have a a better season at Miami. Don't be surprised if he leads back, not in the first round, but be like a day 2 pick. You have Drew Raller from Penn State, Garrett Nussmeier from LSU. I think Lenoris isn't declared yet since he's a sophomore, so he still has one more year, if I am correct. But yeah, if Arch Manning isn't like a projected number 1 pick, then you have to go. I don't care if it's like
Norris is eligible about that.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, if he has a hell of a season at South Carolina, then he's definitely gone there.
That's true.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say that's true. There's a lot of talented guys coming out this year.
Yeah, you might want to wait for a weaker class. I don't know what's in 2027. That's too far, but who knows?
Lagway.
Yeah, Lagway. All right, let's go on to the next hot topic. Will Brian Kelly be on the hot seat if LSU doesn't make the college football playoff this year? Because they spent a lot of money in the transfer portal, so this feels like a playoff or bust season for LSU and BK.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think context is key here on how that happens. If LSU continues to make the same mistakes, losing the season opener, getting spanked by Alabama, and then maybe just not showing up for a game, and that's how you get to 9-3, then yeah, I think people are going to get sick and tired of it. But if he makes some flash and LSU beats Clemson and plays competitively on the road with Alabama, but loses a close one, against Ole Miss on the road, and they don't make it at 3 losses, like, okay, maybe not. But there's going to have to be some flash there if they don't make it, and something for people to be hopeful for the future.
Yeah, I agree. I already said it. You got to make the playoff eventually, and this is year number 4 now for Brian Kelly. So it feels like the talent both on offense and defense. You got to make the playoff if you want to retain your job here in Baton Rouge, because they'll fire you even when you win a national championship. Just look at Coach O, what he did. He tanked out after he won it all in 2019. So we'll see how that scenario plays out throughout the 2025 season. Next one, a little bit of news. Former Texas A&M coach Jimbo Fisher is eyeing a coaching return, according to a report by ESPN. Do you think that Fisher can return in the SEC potentially?
Well, our chat does.
Yeah, Arkansas. That honestly, Arkansas with the amount of money they got, shoot, it won't be $75 million, Jimbo. But we'll give you at least $10 million.
Yeah, Arkansas is going to want to make a splash higher if they dump Pittman. I mean, that's a job that definitely could open up. I saw Rhett Lashley is
he's going to be
odds-on favorite. He played at Arkansas. He's at SMU now, but Chad Morris didn't exactly work out from that pipeline, being an Arkansas guy at SMU. So maybe there's some apprehension there. I'd get it to, go get the big name. I think Jimbo Fisher is a fine coach. I think the A&M job had very high expectations for a program that was still building. I don't think they made the wrong decision in getting rid of him, but we'll see if Mike Elko's, how much of an improvement that is as the years go on. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if somebody takes a stab at him. You could see Arkansas, you could see Auburn, you could see
Kentucky
LSU open up. I mean, there's a lot of teams that could open up.
Yeah, I mean, with how many teams have we seen bottom out here in the SEC, there's going to be some SEC program that's going to open up for Fisher, and we'll see if they can get an agreement. Yeah, what do you say, Kentucky?
Kentucky.
They're desperate, so I wouldn't be shocked if they do. But let's talk about Vanderbilt, shall we? They were the darlings of our SEC talk last season. It feels like last season that was like the most that we had the Vanderbilt logo ever pop up on our show. It feels like in quite some time. But can the Doors pull it off again in 2025? Offensive weapons returning wise, Diego Pavia coming back for another season. You have Cedric Alexander, who's honestly to me is one of the more underrated running backs in the SEC, and honestly the best tight end in the country in Stowers is returning. So this offense is really going to be good. Defense definitely has to take a step up if Vandy still wants to continue where they want to go, because if you watched the new Netflix documentary, Diego Pavia thinks they're winning the national title this season. But do you think Vandy pulls this off again in 2025?
Look, I almost included Vanderbilt as my surprise team because, I did see that they were picked at the bottom of the conference, and that was surprising to me. I mean, I think this team is going to be a decent team, 7-5 or something. So, I think they manage expectations. Like, I think they don't just fall flat on their face, but I don't see them making like that next leap. Like,
Right.
they got to go to Bryant-Denny. You're high on Alabama. I don't see that magic happening again. And if they didn't win that game, what were they like? They were 7-5 with that win, right? I mean,
Yeah.
so they would have barely crept into a bowl game despite that. And they do have to go.
Yeah, they play Texas on the road, Tennessee
to
on the road,
Texas.
Alabama on the road. They get LSU at home at least. Other than that, that's a tough road schedule in the SEC for them this season. So I don't know about them making
Yeah,
another bowl game or not.
I think they could.
I think,
I think this is the first time in a while I've got Vanderbilt like definitively above the Kentuckys, the maybe even Tennessee this year. I think they're better than like Arkansas, but yeah, the list does get kind of thin.
Chris has
I
them
think
at
they could go
8-4.
7-5.
Wow. Could you see
8-4?
8-4? I think that's a little bit too much.
I'm thinking 7-5, 6-6.
Yeah, I think 6-6 is right around where I was seeing there. But going through all the comments, I don't see any on
pesky
Facebook.
Team though.
Yeah, they are a pesky team. But going through the comments, don't see any on Facebook. Looks like we have caught up both on the YouTube chat as well. So we do appreciate everybody for both tuning in and dropping their comments. We will be back in week number 1 as we preview all the SEC games, from Texas, Ohio State, Clemson, LSU, Syracuse, Tennessee, and many more. Obviously, you'll have those teams, Florida's playing Long Island, all these other cupcake ones. We don't have to spend too much time on that. But we will mainly focus on the big boy games. That's in week number 1 because there's definitely going to be a lot of them in the conference to kick off this 2025 season. SEC Fantasy will be returning for a new rendition. We have a little bit of twist this season, so stay tuned to next time's show whenever we go live. But we appreciate both our viewers, both on Facebook and on YouTube, for tuning in to tonight's show. And we will see you in just a couple of short weeks as we kick off another fantastic college football season. So from Wade and I at the SEC Talk, we appreciate everybody for tuning in, and we will see you all next time. So long for now.